In a distant future filled with fragile alliances and ancient secrets, one linguist discovers that words can be as powerful as weapons. When entire worlds fall silent, Dr. Amara Thibodeaux is drawn into a mystery that spans galaxies, a search for a mythical archive said to hold the wisdom of a vanished civilization. What she uncovers could unite countless species, or end them all. Experience a journey of courage, discovery, and the power of understanding across the stars. Subscribe to the Narrative Core for more cinematic audio stories like this one, and don't forget to like the video if you enjoyed it. We deeply appreciate your support. Thank you for watching and listening.
Amara Thibodeaux had learned long ago that the universe's greatest secrets were hidden in the spaces between words. She sat in her cramped office aboard Station Meridian, surrounded by holographic displays showing linguistic matrices in 17 different alien languages. The station hummed around her, a massive wheel spinning in the darkness between stars, home to over 50,000 beings from across the galaxy. Through her window, she could see the shimmer of FTL drives as ships jumped to distant systems, their departures leaving brief tears in the fabric of reality that glowed like fireflies. "You're humming again," Vexx said from the doorway, their voice translated into melodic tones through their collar device. Their antennae quivered with amusement. Amara blinked, realizing she'd been humming Jolie Blonde, an old Zydeco tune her grandmother used to play. "Thinking music," she said, gesturing to the displays. "This Proxima trade dispute is giving me a headache. The Centauri delegate keeps using an honorific that the Proxima faction finds insulting, but he swears it's showing respect." "Context is everything," Vexx agreed, moving into the room with their characteristic grace. They set down a steaming cup of coffee. Real coffee, not the synthetic swill from the station dispensary. "Peace offering. You've been in here for 14 hours. Bless you." Amara wrapped her hands around the cup, inhaling deeply. The Centauri honorific roughly translates to respected elder, but in Proxima context, it implies the recipient is too old for the position. It's a subtle insult disguised as... Her comlink chimed. Director Hassan's icon flashed urgent red. Amara's stomach tightened. Hassan never marked messages urgent unless something was seriously wrong. She accepted the call, and the director's weathered face materialized above her desk. "Thibodeaux, my office. Now. Bring Threnzik." The connection cut. Vexx's antennae flattened, their species equivalent of raised eyebrows. That was ominous. "Yeah." Amara downed half her coffee, burning her tongue. "Grab your field kit." Director Malik Hassan's office occupied a prime location on the station's upper ring, with a viewport that offered a panoramic view of the stars. But Hassan never looked at the view. His desk was a fortress of data pads and holographic briefings, and his dark eyes carried the weight of every diplomatic disaster he'd managed to prevent, or failed to stop. Two others waited in the office, Dr. Ife Okonkwo, who gave Amara a warm but concerned smile, and Captain Sasha Volkov, standing at parade rest with her prosthetic hand resting on her sidearm. "Director," Amara said, nodding to the others. "This looks like more than a trade dispute." Hassan gestured to the seats. 6 days ago, the Yathi colony on Tidefall went silent. All communication ceased. The United Earth Council sent a patrol frigate to investigate. He activated a holographic display. Amara's breath caught. The footage showed a world of shallow seas and floating cities, organic structures grown from coral-like materials, or rather, what remained of them. The cities were blackened husks. The water was thick with debris and bodies. Madre de Dios, Amara whispered. Population, 200,000, Hassan continued, his voice flat. Survivors, 0. Preliminary scans show weapons fire consistent with Torven Sovereignty heavy cruisers. Zik's harmonic voice carried a deep sorrow. The Yathi were pacifists. Their entire culture was built around song stories and oceanic meditation. They had no military. Which raises the question, Captain Volkov said, her Russian accent thick with controlled anger. Why would the Sovereignty attack them? The Yathi had no strategic value, no resources worth stealing, no territory the Torven wanted. Hassan looked at Amara. That's why you're here. Intelligence recovered partial data cores from the wreckage. Most of it's corrupted, but we have fragments of the final communications. The Yathi were transmitting something before the attack, some kind of linguistic pattern. It's like nothing in our databases. He projected new data. Amara leaned forward, her analytical mind engaging, despite the horror of the situation. The patterns were complex, layered with harmonics and frequencies that suggested deep cultural significance. It's a story song, Zik said quietly. The Yathi preserve their history through oral tradition. Each generation adds to the song. This fragment, it's old, ancient. How ancient? Dr. Okonkwo asked. The linguistic structure predates the Yathi's current language by at least 10,000 years, Amara said, her fingers flying across her datapad, running pattern analysis. This is proto-Yathi. Maybe older. Where did they get this? Hassan's expression darkened. According to the fragments we recovered, they received it from the Sovereignty. Archon Vexx himself. He offered them a gift. What he claimed was a recovered artifact containing part of their ancestral history. The Yathi were analyzing it when the attack came. It was a trap, Volkov said. He gave them something he knew they'd study, marked their location, and destroyed them. But why? Amara stood, pacing. She always thought better in motion. If he wanted them dead, why give them anything? Why not just attack? Because, Hassan said quietly, we think the gift was a test. The Sovereignty is looking for something. We've tracked similar attacks on 6 other worlds over the past 2 years. Different species, different locations, but all of them were known for preserving ancient oral traditions or historical archives. Amara stopped pacing. The pieces were falling into place, but the picture they formed made her skin crawl. He's looking for the Ancestral Archive. The room went silent. The Ancestral Archive was a legend, a myth whispered about in academic circles and late-night speculation among xenoarchaeologists. Supposedly left by a precursor species millions of years ago, it was said to contain knowledge beyond anything the current galactic community possessed. Advanced technology, scientific breakthroughs, maybe even the secrets of faster-than-light travel that didn't require the dangerous quantum tunneling current drives used. We don't know if the archive even exists, Dr. Okonkwo said carefully. Vexx believes it does, Hassan countered, and he's willing to commit genocide to find it. If the archive is real and contains what the legends say, the Sovereignty would become unstoppable. He looked at Amara. You're the best linguistic investigator we have. I need you to decode that Yathi transmission, track down what they found, and figure out what Vexx is really looking for. Amara felt the weight of it settle on her shoulders. 200,000 dead. Entire cultures wiped out. And if she failed, how many more? No, she said. Hassan blinked. Excuse me? No, I'm saying no. Amara crossed her arms, her grandmother's voice in her head. Child, don't you go borrowing trouble that ain't yours to carry. Director, I'm a linguist. A translator. I solve communication problems between trading partners and cultural misunderstandings at diplomatic functions. What you're describing it's a military operation, intelligence work. I'm not qualified. You're the most qualified person we have, Hassan insisted. Then you need better people. Amara's voice rose. You're asking me to chase a myth based on a fragment of corrupted data, go up against a military power that just committed genocide, and somehow save the galaxy. I missed my chance to help the Yathi. I didn't even know they needed help. How am I supposed to… Amara. Dr. Okonkwo's gentle voice cut through her rising panic. Breathe, daughter. Amara stopped, realizing her hands were shaking. She took a breath, then another. Zeke moved to her side, their presence calming. You don't have to decide right now. Actually, Hassan said, and Amara heard the regret in his voice. She does. Intelligence suggests Vexx's next target is the Whispering Archives on Keeper Station. It's the largest repository of ancient texts and oral traditions in the sector. If he hits them, thousands more dead, Volkov finished. Maybe tens of thousands. We leave in 6 hours, Hassan said. Captain Volkov's ship, the Aurora's Edge, will provide transport and security. Dr. Okonkwo will accompany you in case there are survivors or medical needs. Threnzik as your research partner. You'll have full council authority and resources. And if I still say no? Amara asked quietly. Hassan met her eyes. Then I find someone else. Someone less qualified. Someone who might miss something crucial. And more people die. It wasn't fair. It wasn't right. But it was real. Amara looked at the hologram of Tidefall, at the floating cities turned to ash, at the gentle people who'd only wanted to preserve their stories. Damn it, she whispered. Then louder, I need full access to all intelligence on Torven movements, complete linguistic databases for every species they've attacked, and a direct line to the Council's Xenoarchaeology Division. Hassan allowed himself a small smile. You'll have it? And, Amara added, pulling a small bottle from her pocket and setting it on Hassan's desk. I'm going to need more hot sauce. The good stuff from Louisiana, not the replicated crap. I'll have a case delivered to the Aurora's Edge. Amara nodded, then turned to her friends. Zik's antennae were quivering with determination. Dr. Okonkwo's eyes shone with pride. Volkov gave her a sharp nod of respect. 6 hours, Amara said. I need to pack, analyze the Yathi data, and figure out how to tell the universe's most dangerous war criminal that a human linguist is about to ruin his day. As they filed out of Hassan's office, Zik leaned close. For what it's worth, I think you made the right choice. Ask me again when we're not getting shot at, Amara muttered. But deep down, past the fear and doubt, she felt something else stirring. The same feeling she got when she cracked a particularly difficult linguistic puzzle. Determination. The Yathi deserved justice. The galaxy deserved protection. And Archon Vexx was about to learn that some stories had teeth. The Aurora's Edge was a Valkyrie-class frigate, sleek, deadly, and humming with barely contained power. Amara stood in the main hold as Captain Volkov's crew prepped for departure, feeling distinctly out of place among the military efficiency. Marines checked weapons. Engineers ran diagnostic suites on the FTL drive. The air smelled of ozone and gun oil. First time on a military vessel? Volkov appeared beside her, holding 2 bulbs of what passed for coffee on ships. That obvious? You're standing in the exact center of the bay, not touching anything, looking like you expect something to explode. Volkov's lips quirked. Nothing will explode. Probably. Here. The coffee was terrible but warm. Amara sipped it gratefully. I read your file, Volkov said. The Deneb incident. You prevented a war between 3 species because you caught a single mistranslated word in a treaty. 4 species, actually. The 4th faction was hiding in the grammatical subtext. Amara shrugged. It was just language analysis. It was genius. Volkov's blue eyes were serious. Hassan chose you for a reason, Thibodeaux. Trust that. Before Amara could respond, the deck trembled, the FTL drive spooling up. All hands, secure for jump, Volkov announced, heading for the bridge. Thibodeaux, you're bunked in officer country, deck 2. I suggest you secure your research and strap in. Quantum tunneling can be rough on first-timers. Amara made her way to the small cabin she'd been assigned, where Zeke was already organizing their equipment with methodical precision. The room was barely large enough for 2 bunks, a desk, and a small washroom, but it was clean and functional. I've been reviewing the Yathi transmission, Zeke said, without preamble. Their 4 hands moved in coordinated patterns across multiple data pads. The linguistic pattern is definitely a story song, but it's fragmented. Incomplete. Like we're only hearing one voice in a chorus. Amara settled at the desk, calling up her own analysis. The Yathi used polyphonic communication, multiple singers creating layered meanings. If this is ancient proto-Yathi, they might have used even more complex harmonics. She pulled up the waveform analysis, and her breath caught. Zeke. Look at this. The harmonic pattern wasn't random. When she isolated specific frequencies and mapped them to spatial coordinates, they formed a shape, a constellation. That's the Sagittarius arm, Zeke said, their voice sharp with excitement. Specifically the outer reaches. But there's nothing there. No habitable systems, no colonies, just a region we've never fully explored because the radiation levels are lethal to most species. Amara finished. Her mind was racing. What if that's the point? What if the archive is hidden somewhere no one would think to look? The ship lurched. Reality twisted, and for a moment Amara felt like she was being turned inside out. The FTL jump. She grabbed the desk, fighting nausea. When the world stabilized, Zeke was clicking their mandibles, their version of laughter. Your first jump is always memorable. The human digestive system doesn't appreciate quantum tunneling. Noted, Amara managed weakly. Dr. Okonkwo appeared in the doorway with a medical scanner and a knowing smile. Nausea. Disorientation. Sense that reality isn't quite real. All of the above. Perfectly normal. The doctor administered a hypospray that brought immediate relief. You'll adjust. Most humans do after 3 or 4 jumps. In the meantime, this will help. She perched on Zeke's bunk. I've been thinking about the Sovereignty's pattern. 6 worlds attacked, all preserving ancient knowledge. But they weren't just killing people. They were destroying data archives, burning libraries, corrupting storage systems. Whatever Vexx is looking for, he doesn't want anyone else finding it. Knowledge is power, Amara said. Especially ancient knowledge. But why give the Yathi that fragment? Why not just torture them for information? Because, Zeke said slowly, he didn't know if they had the information. He was testing them. The fragment was bait. If they could translate it, they'd reveal they knew the language. Then he'd know they were worth interrogating. But he killed them too quickly, Amara realized. They were still analyzing the fragment. They hadn't finished the translation. He got impatient. Dr. Okonkwo nodded grimly. Or he got what he needed just by watching how they analyzed it. Vexx isn't stupid. He's methodical, patient, strategic. The Torven don't value individual lives, they value results. A chime sounded. Volkov's voice over the intercom. All senior staff to the briefing room. We've received updated intelligence. The briefing room was compact but sophisticated, with holographic displays and tactical readouts covering every surface. Volkov stood at the head of the table, her prosthetic hand interfacing directly with the ship's computer. "We're 6 hours from Keeper Station," she began, "but we have a problem." Long-range sensors detected Torven ships in the sector, at least 4 heavy cruisers and a command carrier. The tactical display showed the massive Sovereignty vessels, dark, angular ships bristling with weapons. "That's enough firepower to level a planet," Amara whispered. "And Keeper Station doesn't have significant defenses," Volkov confirmed. "It's a civilian research facility. Pacifist monks maintain the archives. They have maybe 24 security personnel with small arms." "We have to warn them," Dr. Okonkwo said. "We did." "An hour ago." Volkov's expression was stone. "They refused to evacuate. The archives have been maintained for over 3,000 years. The High Keeper says they won't abandon their duty." Zeke made a low, harmonic sound of distress. "They'll die. Just like the Yathi." "Not if we get there first." Volkov manipulated the display, showing approach vectors. "We can't fight a Sovereignty fleet, but we can get you to the archives, buy you time to find whatever Vexx wants, and extract the Keepers before the Sovereignty arrives." "How much time?" Amara asked. "Maybe 4 hours, maybe less." "To search an archive containing millions of texts in hundreds of languages spanning thousands of years." Amara laughed, but there was no humor in it. No pressure. "You'll have help," Volkov said. "The High Keeper, Elder Soren, is one of the galaxy's foremost experts in ancient languages. If anyone can help you decode the Yathi transmission and find what you're looking for, it's them." "Them?" Zeke asked. "Keeper species are called the Luminari. They're photosynthetic beings, translucent, about your height." Volkov called up an image. The Luminari looked like living glass sculptures, their bodies containing swirling patterns of bioluminescence. They communicate through light patterns as well as speech, incredibly peaceful, incredibly smart, and incredibly stubborn. Amara studied the tactical display, the archive schematics, the timeline. Every instinct screamed that this was impossible. 4 hours to find something that might not exist while racing against genocidal warships. But she thought of the Yathi cities burning. The 200,000 voices silenced. "What do you need from me?" she asked Volkov. The captain's respect was clear in her eyes. "Find what Vexx wants before he does. Figure out why it's worth killing for. And stay alive. I'm not losing anyone else to these bastards." "I'll do my best." "One more thing." Volkov's prosthetic hand projected a new image. A face Amara hadn't expected to see. Ambassador Trent Blackwood. Human. Mid-50s. Expensive suit. Political smile that never reached his calculating eyes. "Ambassador Blackwood arrived at Keeper Station 2 days ago," Volkov said. "Claims he's on a diplomatic mission to establish formal relations with the Luminari." "But," Amara prompted, "but Blackwood has ties to several corporations that would profit enormously from ancient technology. and his ship's registry shows it left Proxima Station the day before the Yathi attack. Volkov's voice hardened. He might be a coincidence. Or he might be working with Vexx. A shapeshifter, Zik observed. Ally or enemy? We won't know until he reveals himself. Watch him, Volkov advised. Trust your instincts. If he's dirty, he'll slip up. The meeting broke up. Amara returned to her cabin, her mind churning. She had 4 hours to crack a mystery that had stood for millennia. 4 hours to outsmart a war criminal. 4 hours to maybe, possibly, hopefully save thousands of lives. She pulled up the Yathi transmission again, listening to the haunting harmonics. Somewhere in those frequencies was a message, a clue, a path forward. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. When you don't know the way forward, baby girl, you go back to the beginning. Find the root, everything grows from there. Okay, Amara whispered to the dead Yathi, to the ancient singers whose voices had been preserved in data and light. Talk to me. Tell me your story. She began to work. Keeper Station hung in space like a crystal flower, a massive structure of transparent aluminum and living bioarchitecture that pulsed with soft light. At its heart, the archives spiraled upward and downward, endless halls of preserved knowledge. The Aurora's edge docked with practiced precision. As the airlock cycled, Amara felt her heart hammering. 4 hours. The clock was already ticking. Elder Soren met them at the dock. The luminari moved with fluid grace, their translucent bodies shifting through colors, blues and greens that Amara's linguistic training recognized as expressions of welcome tinged with concern. You honor us with your presence, Soren said, their voice like wind chimes, though I wish it were under better circumstances. Your warning about the Torven Sovereignty troubles us deeply. Will you evacuate? Dr. Okonkwo asked gently. Soren's colors dimmed to amber. Sadness. The archives are our sacred trust. We are their guardians. To abandon them would be to abandon our purpose. Even if it means your death. All beings return to light eventually, but knowledge, properly preserved, is eternal. Soren's colors shifted to determined violet. However, we are not fools. If the archives are threatened, we will preserve what we can. Come. Ambassador Blackwood awaits in the central rotunda. They moved through corridors that seemed grown rather than built, walls of organic crystal that filtered starlight into patterns that Amara realized were a form of writing. The archive itself was a language. The central rotunda was breathtaking, a sphere hundreds of meters in diameter, every surface covered in storage pods, data crystals, ancient texts preserved in stasis fields. Catwalks spiraled through the space, and luminari floated between levels using some form of anti-gravity. Ambassador Blackwood stood at the central platform, examining a display. He turned as they approached, his politician's smile firmly in place. Dr. Thibodeaux. What a pleasant surprise. I heard you were investigating the terrible tragedy at Tidefall. His eyes were cold, despite the warm words. I hope you've come to pay your respects to these magnificent archives, not to cause trouble. Trouble seems to be following me, Amara replied carefully. Ambassador, I'm curious. What brings you to Keeper Station? It's a long way from the normal diplomatic circuit. Cultural exchange, building bridges. Blackwood's smile widened. The luminari possess knowledge that could benefit all of humanity. I'm here to discuss partnership opportunities. Partnership. Amara's grandmother would have called that word slippery. It could mean anything from genuine cooperation to exploitation. "Have you found what you're looking for?" she asked. Something flickered in Blackwood's eyes. "Oh, I'm very close." Soren intervened, their colours shifting to diplomatic purple. "Ambassador, Dr. Thibodeaux has urgent research to conduct. We should let her begin." Of course." Blackwood nodded to Amara. "I look forward to comparing notes, Doctor. I suspect we're both searching for similar things." He left, and Amara felt the tension in her shoulders ease slightly. "He has been most persistent," Soren said quietly, "asking about our oldest records, specifically texts relating to precursor species and ancient star charts." "The archive," Vexx said. "Indeed." Soren's colours swirled with concern. "We thought it merely academic interest. But now, with the sovereignty approaching and your warnings..." They turned to Amara. "What are you searching for, Doctor?" Amara played them the Yathi transmission. Soren went absolutely still, their bioluminescence pulsing in patterns Amara had never seen. When they spoke, their voice carried an edge of fear. "That is the Song of First Light. We have fragments in our archives, preserved from the Yathi's ancestral homeworld. But this version, it's more complete than any we've heard. And the harmonic signature..." Soren's colours shifted to urgent red. "Doctor, where did you say this came from?" "The Torven Sovereignty gave it to the Yathi days before destroying them." "Then they know." Soren began moving quickly through the rotunda, their floating turning into something like running. "They know what the song contains. The coordinates, the path, the key." "The key to what?" Amara called, following. "To the Ancestral Archive. It's real, Doctor, and if the sovereignty reaches it..." Soren's colours went dark with horror. The precursors were powerful beyond measure. Their technology could reshape reality itself. In the wrong hands. "Genocide on a galactic scale," Dr. Okonkwo finished grimly. Soren led them to a specialized chamber deep in the archives. Ancient crystal storage devices lined the walls, each containing fragments of languages long dead. "The Song of First Light is not one story," Soren explained, working quickly to pull multiple crystals. "It's a chorus, a collaborative work created by 7 species who encountered the precursors millions of years ago. Each species preserved their part of the song. Only when all parts are combined do they reveal the truth." "The Yathi had one part," Amara said, understanding dawning. "That's why Vexx gave them the fragment. He was testing to see if it would match their archives. And when it did, he knew they were one of the 7. Vexx's harmonic voice was somber. "How many of the 7 species still exist?" Soren's colours dimmed to morning grey. "The Yathi were the 4th to fall. 3 remain, the Kellics, crystalline beings from the outer rim. The Harathi, deep space nomads whose fleet roams the galactic core. And..." They paused. "And the Luminari." The silence was heavy. "You have one of the pieces," Amara said softly. "That's why Vexx is coming here. We preserved it for 3,000 years, waiting for a time when the galaxy would be ready for its secrets." Soren's bioluminescence pulsed with determination. "We will not let it fall to monsters." "Then we need to decode all the pieces we have and find the archive first," Amara said. "Before Vexx does." "How long would it take to..." An alarm shrieked through the archive. Red light pulsed. Volkov's voice crackled over the comm. "Sovereignty ships just dropped out of FTL. 5 heavy cruisers and a command carrier. They're launching fighter wings. We have maybe 30 minutes before they're in weapons range. They're early, Dr. Okonkwo breathed. Someone told them we were here, Zeke said, looking at Amara. Blackwood. The shapeshifter had revealed himself. Amara grabbed the crystal storage devices Soren had pulled. How many Luminari are on this station? 347, Soren replied. Get them to the evacuation ships. Now, Dr. Okonkwo, help coordinate. Zik, you're with me. We're taking these crystals and whatever else we can carry. Where? Zik asked. The Aurora's Edge. We'll decode them in FTL, hopefully before Vexx catches us. Soren's colors shifted through a dozen emotions: fear, sorrow, acceptance, hope. The archives will survive in you, Amara said firmly. Knowledge isn't just in storage devices, it's in living minds, in stories passed down. You preserve it by staying alive. Now move. They ran. The corridors of Keeper Station became chaos. Luminari floated in panic, gathering what they could. Amara's team navigated the confusion, making for the docks. Behind them, the archives, 3,000 years of preserved knowledge, waited like a target. They reached the Aurora's Edge to find Blackwood already there, being restrained by 2 Marines. You sold us out, Amara said, her voice cold. Blackwood had dropped the diplomatic mask. His face was calculating, cold. I sold out nobody. The sovereignty was coming anyway. I simply ensured I'd be on the winning side. When Vexx gets the archive's location, the Torven will reshape the galaxy. I've been promised a governor's position. Power. Resources. Built on mountains of corpses, Dr. Okonkwo said with disgust. Built on the ashes of obsolete species, Blackwood corrected. Humanity needs to choose its allies carefully. I chose strength. You chose cowardice, Volkov said, appearing on the bridge above. Brig, now. If we survive this, the Council will want words with you. As Marines hauled Blackwood away, Volkov turned to Amara. We've got maybe 15 minutes before those fighters are in range. The Luminari evacuation ships are too slow. They'll be picked off. We need to run interference. 1 frigate against 5 cruisers? Zik's voice was incredulous. I don't need to win. Just need to buy time. Volkov's smile was fierce. Strap in. This is going to get rough. The Aurora's Edge launched with a bone-rattling acceleration. Through the viewports, Amara saw Keeper Station shrinking behind them, beautiful and doomed. Torven fighters swarmed like angry hornets. All hands! Combat stations! Volkov barked. Point defense systems online. Divert power from non-essential systems to shields, and someone get Thibodeaux to somewhere safe. No, Amara said. I need to work. If I can decode these song fragments, then you better work fast. Volkov threw the ship into an evasive spiral as weapons fire painted the space around them. Because we're out of time. Amara grabbed the crystal storage devices and ran for her cabin, Zik close behind. The ship bucked and rolled, but she forced herself to focus. The crystals. The song. The clue. She plugged the crystals into her analysis system and began the fastest linguistic decoding of her life. Outside, the battle had begun. The Aurora's Edge shuddered as enemy fire grazed its shields. Amara braced herself against the desk, never taking her eyes from the holographic display where the song fragments were slowly resolving into coherent patterns. I need more time, she called out, though she wasn't sure anyone could hear her over the screaming alarms. Zeke was working at the auxiliary station, their 4 hands coordinating multiple data streams. The song pieces are using 3 different harmonic languages, 2 visual symbolic systems, and what appears to be a mathematical encryption based on quantum probability. "Of course they are," Amara muttered. She wiped sweat from her forehead, her fingers flying across the interface. Because why make anything simple? The ship lurched hard to port. Something exploded nearby, close enough that Amara heard it through the hull. Volkov's voice crackled over the comm. "We've got Torven fighters on our tail. Point defense is holding, but they're chewing through our shields. Whatever you're doing down there, speed it up." Amara pulled up the Yathi fragment and overlaid it with the luminary piece Soren had given them. The patterns began to align, creating a 3-dimensional harmonic map. But there were gaps, missing sections where the other song pieces would fit. "It's like a puzzle," she said. "Each species held one piece. Together they form coordinates, but also..." She zoomed in on a specific section. "Instructions. A warning." "What kind of warning?" Zik asked. The ship's artificial gravity flickered. Amara grabbed the desk to keep from floating. "The archive isn't just a repository of knowledge," she translated, her heart racing as the ancient meanings became clear. "It's a test." The precursors left it as a way to determine which species were worthy of their technology. Only those who could combine the song, who could work together across species barriers, would be able to access it. And if someone tries to access it without completing the song? Amara read further, her blood running cold. The archive self-destructs, takes out everything in a 50 light-year radius. A massive explosion rocked the ship. Emergency lighting kicked in, bathing everything in red. Dr. Okonkwo burst into the cabin, her medical bag bouncing against her hip. "We've taken a direct hit to the port engine. Casualties in engineering. I need to..." She stopped, seeing Amara's face. "What's wrong?" "The archive is a trap," Amara said. "If Vexx tries to access it without all the song pieces, he'll trigger a cataclysm that could destroy dozens of inhabited systems. Then we have to stop him from finding it. Or," Zik said slowly, "we find it first and secure it properly." Another impact. The lights died completely for 3 seconds before backup systems engaged. Volkov's voice strained. "Bridge to Thibodeaux. We've got bigger problems. The Torven command carrier just launched boarding pods. They're not trying to destroy us, they're trying to capture us." "They want the song pieces," Amara realized. "They know we have them." "Then we run," Dr. Okonkwo said. "Can't." Volkov again. "FTL drive took damage from that last hit. We need at least 15 minutes for repairs, and we don't have 15 minutes. Torven boarding pods will breach in 8. The ship's deck trembled with another impact, this one different, closer, a docking clamp. "Make that 5 minutes," Volkov corrected grimly. "Marines, repel boarders. Crew, secure all critical systems. Thibodeaux, destroy those crystals if you have to, but don't let them fall into Torven hands." Amara looked at the fragments of the song, at the coordinates slowly resolving in her display. They were so close. If she could just. The cabin door exploded inward. Torven soldiers poured through the breach. 7-foot-tall reptilian warriors in powered armor, weapons raised. Their eyes gleamed with predatory intelligence. "On the ground!" one hissed. "Now!" Dr. Okonkwo moved to comply, but Amara's hand shot out, grabbing a data crystal. If she could transmit the coordinates to someone, anyone. A plasma bolt scorched the air inches from her head. "Drop it, human." Amara dropped it, her mind racing. The Torven were systematic, professional. They secured Zik first, recognizing the Cathari as potentially dangerous with their 4 arms. Then Dr. Okonkwo. Then Amara. The leader, identified by more ornate armor, examined the data crystals with a satisfied hiss. The song fragments. Archon Vexx will be pleased. They were hauled roughly to their feet and marched through the damaged corridors of the Aurora's edge. Amara saw the aftermath of battle: scorched walls, injured crew, Marines locked in firefights with Torven soldiers. The ship was being systematically captured. They were taken to the cargo bay, where Volkov and her senior officers were already being held at gunpoint. The captain's face was bloodied, her prosthetic hand sparking with damage, but her eyes burned with fury. "Thibodeaux," she said, "I'm sorry. We tried to—" "Silence," the Torven leader commanded. A new figure emerged from the shadows of the cargo bay. Archon Vexx himself, 7 feet of scaled menace and controlled power. His armor gleamed, and his yellow eyes fixed on Amara with unsettling intelligence. "Dr. Amara Thibodeaux," he said, his voice a sibilant purr. "The linguist who thinks she can outwit the sovereignty." How quaint. Archon Vexx. Amara forced her voice to remain steady. Genocidal maniac and apparent mythology enthusiast. Charming to finally meet the monster. Vex's lips pulled back, revealing rows of sharp teeth in what might have been a smile. Monster? I am a visionary. The galaxy is filled with weak species clinging to outdated notions of peace and equality. The archive will give the Torven the tools to reshape this reality into something better. You mean something where you rule everything? Naturally. Vexx gestured to his soldiers, who brought forward the data crystals. These fragments will lead me to the archive. You've done excellent work decoding them. The sovereignty thanks you for your service. I decoded enough to know you're about to kill yourself, Amara said. The archive is a test. Without all 7 song pieces, accessing it triggers a self-destruct. You'll destroy everything in a 50 light-year radius, including yourself. Vex's eyes narrowed. You're lying. I'm a linguist. Lying is what I do. Amara met his gaze. But not about this. The precursors built the archive to be found only by species who could cooperate. You've spent years murdering the very species whose cooperation you need. You've made the test impossible for yourself. For a long moment, Vexx studied her. Then he turned to one of his officers. Verify her translation. The officer, a Torven with more refined features and cybernetic enhancements, examined the data crystals. After several tense minutes, he looked up. She's correct, Archon. The instructions are clear. All 7 song pieces must be combined and verified before access is granted. Without them, catastrophic failure, Vexx finished, his tail lashed in anger. How many pieces do we have? 2. The Yathi fragment and the Luminari fragment. And the others? The Kellics have one, locked in their quantum vaults. The Harathi have another, somewhere in their fleet. The remaining 3. The officer hesitated. The remaining 3 were held by species we eliminated early in the search. Their fragments were likely destroyed in the attacks. Amara watched Vex's rage build. She could see the calculation in his eyes, the desperate reassessment of his plan. Then we will extract the coordinates from you, Vexx hissed, turning back to Amara. Your decoding, your analysis. You've mapped the location even without the full song. Partial coordinates, Amara admitted, but not precise enough to matter. Space is big, Archon. Without the complete song, you could search for decades and find nothing. Vexx moved closer, looming over her. Then you will continue working. You and your colleagues will decode what we have, refine the coordinates, and lead us to the archive. And you will do it quickly, or I will begin executing your crew, one every hour, until you comply. No? Amara said. No? Vex's claws extended. You dare? I mean, you won't have to wait an hour. Amara's voice was calm, despite her hammering heart. She was gambling everything on one desperate play. You'll execute someone right now, because I'm not helping you. Ever. Volkov's eyes widened. Thibodeaux? I've spent my life studying languages, communication, the ways species connect and understand each other. You're the antithesis of everything I believe in. Every word you speak is poison. Every order you give is violence. Amara straightened, meeting Vex's gaze without flinching. So go ahead. Start with me, because I'd rather die than help you. The cargo bay was silent, except for the hum of damaged ship systems. Vexx studied her for a long moment. Then, with terrifying speed, he moved past Amara and grabbed Dr. Okonkwo, his claws at her throat. Not you, he said softly. Her. No. Amara lunged forward, but Torven soldiers held her back. Dr. Okonkwo met Amara's eyes, and impossibly, she smiled. It's all right, daughter. You stand for what's right. I'm proud. How touching, Vexx hissed, but insufficient. You have 1 minute to agree to help me, or she dies. Amara's mind raced. 1 minute, 60 seconds to find a solution, a way out, anything. 45 seconds. Zik was clicking their mandibles in a specific pattern. A pattern Amara recognized from their years of working together. Morse code, translated into Cathari body language. Trust. Ready. On mark. 30 seconds. Amara looked at Volkov, who gave an almost imperceptible nod. At the Marines, who had shifted their stances slightly. At the Aurora's Edge crew, who had stopped looking defeated and started looking determined. They had a plan. She just had to trust it. 15 seconds. All right, Amara said, letting defeat color her voice. All right. I'll help you. Just don't hurt her. Vex's smile was triumphant. A wise choice. Release the doctor. His claws moved away from Dr. Okonkwo's throat, and the world exploded into chaos. Zeke moved first. 4 arms striking in coordinated patterns, knocking weapons from Torven hands. Volkov dropped and rolled, her prosthetic hand transforming into a weapon. A concealed plasma cutter she triggered directly into the nearest guard's armor. The Marines erupted into action, turning their apparent compliance into a devastating ambush. Dr. Okonkwo slammed her elbow into Vex's throat and dropped, giving Amara a clear line to the data crystals. She dove for them. Vexx recovered with inhuman speed, his tail whipping around to catch Amara's legs. She went down hard, the breath knocked from her lungs, but her fingers closed around one crystal. A plasma bolt seared overhead. Torven soldiers were returning fire now, the cargo bay becoming a war zone. Go! Volkov screamed. Get her out! Zik grabbed Amara with 2 arms, while their other 2 hands fired a captured Torven weapon. They dragged her toward the cargo bay's emergency exit as the firefight intensified. Amara saw Dr. Okonkwo still fighting, saw a Torven soldier take aim at the doctor's back. Ife! The warning came too late. The plasma bolt hit Dr. Okonkwo center mass. She went down. No! Amara screamed, struggling against Zik's grip. We have to go! Zik pulled her through the emergency hatch. Behind them, Amara heard Volkov ordering a fighting retreat, heard the distinctive sound of Torven weapons, heard her own voice screaming denials. They ran through emergency corridors, Zik navigating with perfect recall. Behind them, the sounds of battle echoed. The escape pods, Zik said. We get to the escape pods, launch, and... An explosion rocked the corridor. They went down in a tangle of limbs. When Amara looked up, Vexx stood before them, his armor scorched but intact. His eyes promised death. Enough games, he snarled. He raised his weapon. A plasma bolt hit him from the side. Volkov, bloodied and furious, her prosthetic hand smoking from overuse. Run, damn it, the captain shouted. Amara and Zik stumbled to their feet, reached the escape pod bay. They could hear fighting behind them, hear Volkov buying them seconds with her life. Go, Zik said, shoving Amara toward a pod. Launch, I'll cover. Like hell. Amara grabbed their arm and pulled them into the pod with her. The hatch sealed. The launch sequence activated. Through the pod's small viewport, Amara saw the Aurora's edge being torn apart by Torven fire, saw escape pods launching, saw Vexx appear at an airlock, his yellow eyes finding their pod with terrifying precision. The pod launched. Space enveloped them, and Amara held the data crystal she'd grabbed, the one containing the partial coordinates to the Ancestral Archive, and wept. The escape pod drifted through the debris field that had once been Keeper Station. Amara sat in the cramped space, the data crystal clutched in her hand, her mind replaying Dr. Okonkwo's fall over and over. She's not dead, Zik said quietly. Their bioluminescence was dim with grief, but their voice carried determination. I saw the shot. Center mass, but Dr. Okonkwo wore thermal dispersing weave under her uniform. Standard medical officer gear. The bolt would have knocked her unconscious, maybe burned her badly, but not killed her. You can't know that. I know Ife Okonkwo. She's survived 3 separate wars, 2 plagues, and that incident on Deneb Station, where she performed surgery during a hull breach. Zik's mandibles clicked softly. She's not dead. And believing otherwise helps no one. Amara wanted to believe it, needed to believe it. The pod's communications system crackled to life. Repeat, all Aurora's Edge personnel, this is Captain Volkov. Rendezvous coordinates transmitted. I repeat. Sasha! Amara lunged for the comm controls. Sasha, we're here! Thibodeaux. Relief flooded Volkov's voice. Thank God. We've recovered 14 escape pods so far. Casualties are... We took heavy losses. But we're regrouping. Dr. Okonkwo? A pause that lasted forever. Then, Pod 12. Unconscious but stable. Burns, fractured ribs, but she'll live. Amara's legs gave out. Zik caught her as the relief hit like a physical wave. What's our status? She managed. Not great. We're scattered across the sector in escape pods. The Aurora's Edge is gone. The Torven scuttled her. But Volkov's voice carried a grim smile. Before they did, I uploaded a virus into their systems. Nothing critical, but enough to slow them down. And I transmitted everything we learned about the archive to Council Command. If we don't make it, at least the information survives. We're making it, Amara said fiercely. We have to. Vexx has the song fragments, Sasha. He's going to search for the archive anyway, incomplete coordinates or not. And when he finds it and tries to access it, without the full song, Boom, Volkov finished. Taking out who knows how many inhabited systems? Yeah, I worked that out. So what do we do? Amara looked at the data crystal. In the escape pod's display, she could see the partial coordinates, the fragments of the song, the incomplete puzzle. We finish the song, she said. The Kellics have one piece, the Harathi have another. We find them, convince them to share, complete the song, and reach the archive before Vexx does. Simple, Zeke said dryly. Impossible is more like it, Volkov said. The Kellics' quantum vaults have never been breached. The Harathi fleet hasn't been seen in 3 years. They're nomads. They could be anywhere. And we're stranded in escape pods with the Torven Sovereignty hunting us. Then we get creative. Amara's mind was already working, connecting pieces. Sasha? The Kellics? What do we know about them? Crystalline species, highly logical, value precision, and proof above all else. They don't trust easily, and they sure as hell don't trust species involved in military conflicts. Volkov paused. Vexx could never get their cooperation. Too violent, too aggressive. They'd lock down their vaults and let him try to break in for decades. But they might trust a linguist and a Cathari anthropologist, Amara said slowly, especially if we approach them not as military, but as researchers trying to prevent a catastrophe. You want to just ask them nicely? It's worked before. Amara thought of the Deneb incident, of the countless disputes she'd resolved with careful words instead of weapons. Language is about building bridges. We offer them truth, proof, and a logical argument for cooperation. It's their weakness. They can't resist a well-constructed argument. Zik's bioluminescence brightened. Hope. It could work. And the Kellics' homeworld is only 3 systems away. If we can get there before Vexx. He's tracking us, Volkov said. Maybe not precisely, but he knows we escaped. He'll follow. Good, Amara said, surprising herself with the steel in her voice. Let him. Because I'm done running. It's time we set a trap of our own. Over the next hour, they coordinated the scattered escape pods, bringing the survivors together. 17 pods total. 43 survivors from the Aurora's edge, including 30 Luminari refugees who had launched from Keeper Station before it was destroyed. Elder Soren floated in their own pod, their bioluminescence pulsing with determination. We will help however we can. The archives may be lost, but their purpose, preserving knowledge and preventing its misuse, that lives on in us. Dr. Okonkwo's pod linked up, and Amara saw her friend through the viewport, bandaged, pale, but alive and conscious. Their eyes met, and no words were needed. I'm here. We're not done yet. A nearby civilian transport, the Merchant's Hope, responded to their distress beacon. The captain, a gruff Rigelian named Cross, was less than thrilled about picking up military refugees with hostile forces in pursuit. You're bringing trouble to my doorstep, Cross growled over the comm. We're also bringing payment, Volkov countered. United Earth Council authorization codes. You'll be compensated for any damages, delays, or risk. Plus, her voice hardened, it's the law. Failure to assist ships in distress carries heavy penalties. Cross grumbled, but began recovery operations. Aboard the Merchant's Hope, a converted cargo hauler with cramped quarters and systems that had seen better decades, Amara reconvened with her team in the ship's small medical bay. Dr. Okonkwo sat on a medical bed, her torso wrapped in regenerative bandages, but her eyes were clear. Stop looking at me like I'm about to fall apart. I've had worse from a lab accident. You were shot, Ife, and it will make a wonderful story for my memoirs." The doctor smiled, then winced. "Now tell me we have a plan that doesn't involve getting shot at again." Amara laid out her strategy. The Kellick's homeworld, Prism, orbited a blue giant star 3 systems away. The Kellicks themselves were logical to the point of inflexibility. They valued mathematical precision and empirical proof. "We approach them with complete transparency," Amara explained. "Show them the partial song fragments, explain the danger Vexx represents, and provide logical proof that cooperation is the only solution that preserves their interests." "And if they refuse?" Volkov asked. "Then we remind them that Vexx will come for them eventually. The Kellicks are one of the 7 species. He knows they have a song fragment. They can either help us prevent catastrophe, or wait for the sovereignty to attack them directly." Zik added, "The Kellicks calculate risk with cold precision. When presented with the mathematical certainty that non-cooperation leads to greater danger, they'll choose the logical path." "Theory," Volkov said. "Let's hope the reality matches." Captain Cross plotted a course to Prism, grumbling about hazard pay the entire time. The merchant's hope wasn't fast, but she was reliable, and her older drive signature might let them approach Kellick's space without immediately triggering defensive responses. During the 3-day journey, Amara worked on her presentation to the Kellicks. Every word had to be precise, every argument logically unassailable. The Kellicks didn't respond to emotional appeals or moral arguments. They needed pure crystalline logic. Dr. Okonkwo recovered enough to move around the ship, though she tired easily. She found Amara in the cargo hold, surrounded by holographic projections of linguistic patterns. "You should sleep," the doctor said gently. "Can't. If I make one mistake with the Kellicks, one logical fallacy, they'll dismiss everything." Amara rubbed her eyes. "I keep thinking about the Yathi, about how I could have helped them if I'd just worked faster, seen the pattern earlier." "You couldn't have known." "I should have. It's my job to know." Amara's voice cracked. 200,000 people dead because I wasn't good enough." Dr. Okonkwo sat beside her, careful of her injuries. "Listen to me, daughter. You are not responsible for Vexx's evil. You are not responsible for the sovereignty's genocides. You are one woman, brilliant and brave, doing her best against impossible odds. It doesn't feel like enough? It never does. But it's what we have." The doctor took Amara's hand. "When I was young, I thought I could save everyone, every patient, every casualty. The first time I lost someone on my operating table, I nearly quit medicine. My mentor told me something I've never forgotten. We cannot save everyone. But that doesn't mean we stop trying to save anyone." Amara met her eyes. "You almost died because of me." "I almost died because I chose to stand against tyranny. That was my choice, not yours." Dr. Okonkwo squeezed her hand. "And I'd make it again. Now, finish preparing your presentation. Then sleep. You're no good to anyone exhausted." Amara nodded, feeling some of the weight lift. The merchant's hope dropped out of FTL at the edge of the Kellick system. Prism hung in space like its namesake, a world of crystal spires and geometric perfection, refracting the light of its blue giant sun into rainbows that painted space itself. "Beautiful," Zeke breathed. "Heavily defended," Volkov observed, studying the tactical displays. "Orbital defense platforms, automated weapons satellites, and at least a dozen Kellick's patrol ships. They don't take chances." "Hailing frequencies," Amara said. "Let's introduce ourselves." The response was immediate. A crystalline voice, each word precisely enunciated. Unidentified vessel, you have entered restricted space. State your purpose or be fired upon. You have 30 seconds to comply. Amara activated the comm. This is Dr. Amara Thibodeaux, Interstellar Communication Bureau, representing the United Earth Council and Luminary Archives. I request an audience with the Kelix Council on a matter of galactic security. The Ancestral Archive has been located, and without your cooperation, its activation will result in catastrophic destruction. Silence, 15 seconds. Then, stand by for verification. Another wait. Amara felt sweat on her palms. Dr. Thibodeaux, your credentials are verified. You and one companion are granted audience with the Council. Your ship will be escorted to landing platform 7. Any deviation from assigned course will result in immediate destruction. Do you understand? Understood. We'll comply. The Kelix patrol ships moved into formation around the Merchant's Hope, their crystalline hulls catching light in mesmerizing patterns. One companion, Volkov said. That's going to be Zik. Agreed, Amara said. Zik, you ready? To convince a species of logical crystalline beings that emotional cooperation is mathematically sound. Zik's mandibles clicked with nervous humor. Absolutely ready to attempt the impossible. They took a shuttle to the surface, escorted by Kelix security drones that scanned them continuously. The capital city of Prism was breathtaking, structures grown from living crystal that sang in harmonies as wind passed through them. The Kelix themselves moved through the streets like walking gemstones, each one unique in color and formation. The council chamber was at the city's heart, a massive dome where light refracted into every color imaginable. 7 Kelix sat in a semicircle, their crystalline bodies ranging from deep ruby red to brilliant sapphire blue. The largest, an emerald green Kelix, who identified themselves as Prime Logician Vertex, spoke first. Dr. Thibodeaux, you claim knowledge of the Ancestral Archive? Present your evidence. No preamble. No small talk. Pure Kelix efficiency. Amara activated her data display, projecting the song fragments, her analysis, the decoded coordinates. She laid out everything: the sovereignty's attacks, the pattern, the danger, the need for cooperation. She spoke for 20 minutes, building her case with mathematical precision, every claim backed by evidence, every conclusion following logically from the premises. When she finished, the council was silent for exactly 30 seconds. Then Vertex spoke. Your analysis is sound. Your logic is unassailable. Your conclusion, that accessing the archive without the complete song will trigger catastrophic destruction, is supported by the linguistic evidence. Hope surged in Amara's chest. However, Vertex continued, and Amara's heart sank. Your solution requires us to surrender our song fragment. To trust you with knowledge we have protected for millennia. To cooperate with species we barely know. These actions carry significant risk with uncertain benefit. The benefit is survival, Amara said. Possibly. Or possibly you are agents of the Torven Sovereignty, attempting to acquire all song fragments through deception. The probability cannot be mathematically eliminated. Then test us, Zik said. Their harmonic voice carried perfect calm. The Kelix value empirical proof. Subject us to whatever verification you require. Scan our minds, analyze our ship's logs, investigate our backgrounds. You will find no connection to the sovereignty. The council conferred in crystalline harmonics, too fast for Amara's translator to follow. Finally, Vertex spoke. We will verify your claims. This will take time. You will remain under guard until We don't have time, Amara interrupted. Archon Vexx is hunting us. He has 2 song fragments already. He knows about Prism. He'll come here eventually, and when he does, he won't ask nicely. Then he will face our defenses. The Kellics do not yield to threats. He'll kill millions to get what he wants, just like he killed the Yathi. Amara's voice carried all the frustration, all the grief, all the desperate need to make them understand. Your defenses are impressive, but the Sovereignty has 5 heavy cruisers and a command carrier. How long do you think you can hold out? Calculations suggest 72 hours before orbital defenses are compromised. And then what? You fight to the last Kellics? Die defending a fragment of a song? Amara took a breath, forcing herself to calm. Or you could choose a different path. Help us reach the archive first. Secure it. Use its knowledge to defend against the Sovereignty. It's the logical choice. Vertex's crystalline form refracted light in complex patterns, the Kellic's equivalent of deep thought. Your emotional appeal is noted but irrelevant to the logical calculus. Is it? Zik stepped forward. The Kellics evolved on a world where cooperation was mathematically superior to competition. Your entire civilization is built on the logical proof that working together produces better outcomes. This situation is no different. The archive was designed to be accessed through cooperation. 7 species, 7 fragments, 1 solution. The mathematics of the situation are clear. The council conferred again. Amara held her breath. Your argument has merit, Vertex finally said. We will grant you temporary access to our song fragment for analysis and potential cooperation. However, 3 conditions must be met. First, we will send a Kellics observer with you. Second, if we detect any attempt at deception, cooperation ends immediately. Third, you must provide us with all information you gather about the archive. Agreed, Amara said immediately. Then come. We will take you to the vault. The Kellics quantum vault was buried deep beneath Prism's surface, protected by layers of security that made Amara's head spin. Energy barriers, quantum locks, automated defense systems, and finally, a chamber where reality itself seemed to shimmer. The song fragment exists in a state of quantum superposition, Vertex explained, observed and unobserved simultaneously. Only a Kellics can safely retrieve it. They entered the chamber, and Amara gasped. The fragment wasn't stored on a crystal or data device. It was written in the structure of space-time itself, visible as patterns of light and shadow that hurt to look at directly. Vertex performed a complex series of movements, and the patterns coalesced into a data stream that downloaded into a specialized storage device. This is the Kellics portion of the Song of First Light, Vertex said, handing the device to Amara with ceremonial precision. Guard it well. The knowledge it contains is precious beyond measure. Amara took it reverently. 3 fragments now. They were halfway there. The Harathi fleet, she said. We need to find them. They have another fragment. The Harathi are deep space nomads, Vertex said. Their current location is unknown. However, we can provide you with their last known trajectory and communication protocols. If they wish to be found, they will respond. And if they don't, then you face the same logical challenge we did, convincing another species that cooperation is mathematically superior to isolation. They returned to the Merchant's Hope with Vertex as their Kellics observer, the crystalline being regarded the shabby merchant vessel with what might have been dismay. This ship is adequate, Vertex said diplomatically. She's got character, Cross growled, and she'll get you where you're going. probably. Volkov pulled Amara aside. While you were negotiating, we picked up long-range scans. Torven ships, multiple vectors, all heading for this system. Vexx knows we're here. How long? 18 hours, maybe 20. We need to jump before they arrive. Amara nodded. Set course for the Harathi's last known position. We'll transmit the communication protocols on all frequencies. Hopefully they'll answer before Vexx catches up. The Merchant's Hope jumped to FTL, leaving Prism behind, just as Torven's scout ships entered the system. In the ship's small common area, Amara gathered everyone. Volkov, Zik, Dr. Okonkwo, against medical advice, Elder Soren, and Vertex. We have 3 song fragments, Amara said, projecting them in holographic form. The patterns are beginning to resolve. Look. She combined the Yathi, Luminari, and Kelix fragments. The coordinates snapped into sharper focus. A location in the Sagittarius arm, deep in the radiation-heavy outer reaches. But there was more. The song was revealing layers of meaning, instructions, warnings. It's beautiful, Dr. Okonkwo whispered. It's terrifying, Volkov corrected. If we're reading this right, the archive isn't just a repository. It's alive. Alive? Zeke leaned closer. Amara translated the newly resolved sections. The precursors didn't just leave their knowledge, they left a guardian. An artificial intelligence of such sophistication, it might as well be alive. It was designed to test anyone who sought the archive's secrets. Test how? Vertex asked. It doesn't say. But the warning is clear. Only those who can harmonize will proceed. Discord brings silence. Poetic, Volkov said, also ominous. A chime from the communications system. Everyone froze. This is the Harathi fleet consensus, a voice said. Multiple voices, actually, speaking in overlapping harmonies that created a single message. We received your transmission. Your words carry the resonance of truth. We will grant you audience. Coordinates transmitted. Come alone and in peace. Alone? Volkov frowned. That's not happening. Could be a trap. It's not, Elder Soren said, their bioluminescence pulsing with certainty. The Harathi value communal consciousness. They would never use deception. It would create disharmony in their collective. You're sure? As sure as light travels. The coordinates led them to a region of space that appeared empty. But as they approached, ships began to appear, not decloaking, but returning from FTL in coordinated jumps. Hundreds of ships, maybe thousands. Madre de Dios, Amara breathed. The Harathi fleet wasn't a military force. It was a civilization, ships of every size and configuration, from massive ark vessels to tiny scout craft, all moving in perfect synchronization. The consensus welcomes you, the harmonized voice said. Dock, with Ark Vessel Prime. We will hear your song. The docking procedure was delicate, but Captain Cross managed it with surprising skill. Amara, Zik, and Elder Soren disembarked. Vertex chose to remain aboard, finding the Harathi's collective consciousness mathematically fascinating but socially uncomfortable. The interior of Ark Vessel Prime was unlike any ship Amara had seen. The corridors pulsed with bioluminescence, and the Harathi themselves moved through the spaces in flowing groups, never quite touching, but never quite separate. The Harathi were humanoid, but translucent, their nervous systems visible as glowing networks beneath their skin. They communicated through a combination of sound, light, and something Amara suspected was low-level telepathy. They were led to a chamber where hundreds of Harathi gathered. their individual lights combining into a brilliant whole. "We are the consensus," they said as one. "We have preserved the song fragment for 10,000 years, waiting for those who would seek harmony. You carry pieces of the whole. We sense their resonance." Amara presented the 3 fragments they had, explained the danger, made her case. The consensus listened, truly listened, with an attention that felt like being seen down to her soul. "The Torvens seek the archive through violence," the consensus said. "This creates discord. Discord cannot access what requires harmony. You understand this? Therefore, we will add our voice to your song." It was that simple. No negotiation, no demands, just instant, complete understanding. A Harathi elder, separated from the consensus, holding a small device that pulsed with the same bioluminescence as their nervous systems. "This is our fragment. Guard it with harmony. Protect it from discord." Amara took it, feeling the weight of responsibility. 4 fragments, Zik said quietly. "We're so close." "But 3 fragments are lost," Elder Soren said sadly. "The species that held them were destroyed early in Vex's search. The Keldricks, the Moth Collective, and the Singing Stones, all gone, their fragments with them. Then the song is incomplete," the Harathi consensus said. "And the archive cannot be fully accessed. The test cannot be passed. The knowledge will remain sealed." Amara felt hope dying. They'd come so far, gathered so much, and it wasn't enough. "Unless," Vertex said, their crystalline voice cutting through the despair, "the fragments weren't destroyed." The Kellics analysed the Sovereignty's attack patterns. In each case, they struck hard and fast, destroying infrastructure and populations, but they also conducted extensive scans first. They were looking for the fragments, Volkov realized. Precisely. And if they found them, Vertex's crystalline form refracted light in patterns suggesting calculation. If Archon Vexx has them, then all 7 fragments exist. We simply need to take them from him. "Steal from the Torven Sovereignty," Zik said. "From Archon Vexx himself. That's your solution?" "It is the only logical path forward." Amara looked at the 4 fragments, then at her companions. At Volkov, scarred and fierce. At Dr. Okonkwo, injured but unbowed. At Zik, loyal to the end. At Elder Soren and Vertex and the Harathi consensus, all willing to risk everything for a chance at stopping catastrophe. "Then that's what we'll do," she said. "We'll find Vexx, steal the remaining fragments, complete the song, and reach the archive first." "How?" Volkov asked. "The Sovereignty fleet is hunting us. We're outnumbered, outgunned, and flying in a merchant vessel held together with hope and spare parts." Amara smiled, and it wasn't entirely pleasant. "By giving Vexx exactly what he wants. We let him find us. We let him think he's won, and then we take everything." The plan was insane, but as Amara laid it out, she saw understanding dawn in her companion's eyes. Sometimes the best way to win was to lose first. The trap was set in the Calathar Nebula, a region of space thick with ionized gas and radiation that played havoc with sensors. The merchant's hope drifted at the nebula's heart, broadcasting a distress signal and energy signatures that would look like a disabled ship to anyone scanning. Inside, the team waited. "They've found us," Volkov said, monitoring long-range scans. 3 heavy cruisers closing fast. ETA 20 minutes. Amara checked the song fragments one more time. They'd created copies, good ones, but not perfect. The real fragments were hidden in a smuggling compartment Cross swore the Torven would never find. "You sure about this?" Cross asked nervously. "Because if they scan too closely—" "They won't," Amara said, with more confidence than she felt. "Vexx thinks he's chasing desperate refugees. He'll be focused on capturing us, not on detailed sensor sweeps. And if you're wrong, then we improvise." Dr. Okonkwo finished prepping the medical bay, which would serve as their fallback position if things went wrong. "I've armed the emergency sterilization system. If we trigger it, the whole ship floods with UV radiation. Won't kill the Torven, but it'll blind their sensors for about 90 seconds. 90 seconds to do what?" Vertex asked. "Whatever we have to." The Torven ships dropped out of FTL like predators scenting blood. They surrounded the Merchant's Hope, weapons locked. "Surrender!" Vex's voice crackled over comms. "You have nowhere to run. Give me the song fragments, and I'll consider letting some of you live." Amara activated the comm, letting defeat color her voice. "We're done running." "You win, Vexx. Just promise the crew goes free. They're not part of this." "You're in no position to negotiate." "Then I guess we're all dying here." Amara reached for the control that would trigger a reactor overload, a bluff, but Vexx didn't know that. A long pause. Then, "Very well. Fragments first. Then we discuss terms." Amara pretended to argue, to hesitate, playing the role of someone who'd given up hope. Finally, she transmitted the coordinates where they'd hidden the fragments, actually, the location of the decoys. Torven soldiers boarded with ruthless efficiency. They found the hidden compartment exactly where Amara said it would be. Found the fragments. "Archon," one reported. "We have them. All 4. Through the security feed, Amara watched Vexx examine the fragments. His yellow eyes gleamed with triumph. "Finally," he hissed. "With these and the 3 I've already recovered, the path to the archive is complete." Amara's heart hammered. He had them. He'd admitted he had the other 3 fragments. Now came the hard part. "Bring the prisoners to my ship," Vexx ordered. "I want to watch their faces when I activate the archive." They were transferred to Vex's command carrier, a massive vessel that reeked of military precision and barely controlled violence. Amara and her companions were taken to the bridge, where Vexx waited with the 7 song fragments laid out before him. "Beautiful, aren't they?" he said, running a claw over the Yathi fragment. 7 species, working together across eons, creating a masterpiece, and I will be the one to unlock its secrets. "You'll destroy yourself," Amara said. "The fragments you have are incomplete. The harmonics won't align properly. When you try to access the archive—" Silence. Vexx gestured, and a Torven technician began the integration sequence. The 7 fragments connected, creating a pulsing web of light and sound. Amara held her breath. The decoys were good, but not perfect. If Vex's technician was skilled enough. The song began to play. Harmonics filled the bridge, beautiful and haunting. The coordinates resolved with crystal clarity, pointing to a location deep in the outer reaches. Vex's smile was terrifying. "Perfect. Navigator, set course." The command carrier turned, its massive engines burning hot, and Amara allowed herself a small smile. "What are you grinning at?" Vexx demanded. "Nothing. Just hope you enjoy your destination." Confusion flickered in his eyes, then suspicion. "What did you do?" "Me? Nothing, But those fragments you're so proud of? They're fakes. Good ones, I'll admit. Took us hours to create harmonics that would fool your scanner, but they're off by about 0.003%. Enough to seem real, not enough to give you the actual coordinates. Vexx's claws extended. You're lying. Am I? Try comparing the harmonic signature to a baseline. Oh wait, you can't. Because you destroyed the species that created them. Amara's voice turned to ice. You killed the Yathi, the Keldricks, the Moth Collective, the Singing Stones. You erased the very knowledge you needed, and now you're following fake coordinates to empty space while we have the real fragments safely hidden. She's bluffing, Vexx said, but uncertainty had crept into his voice. Only one way to find out, Amara said. Keep going. See what's waiting for you. Vexx grabbed her throat, lifting her off the deck. Where are the real fragments? Amara couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. Dark spots danced in her vision. Zik moved forward, but Torven soldiers blocked them. Dr. Okonkwo struggled against her restraints. Tell me, Vexx hissed, or I start executing your friends. Through the spots in her vision, Amara saw the bridge's main display, saw the command carrier approaching the coordinates, saw dash, an energy surge. The entire ship rocked violently. Alarms shrieked. Report! Vexx dropped Amara, turning to his crew. Unknown energy spike. It's coming from the coordinates. Impossible. There's nothing there. Not nothing, Amara gasped, her throat burning. A failsafe. The precursors were thorough. They didn't just hide the archive, they protected it. Try to approach with false fragments, and their automated defenses activate. The ship shook again. On the display, space itself seemed to tear apart. Shields are failing, a Torven officer reported. Whatever this is, it's tearing through our hull integrity. Full reverse, Vexx ordered. Get us away from... Too late. The energy wave hit like the fist of an angry god. Systems exploded. The lights died. Emergency backups kicked in, painting everything in red. In the chaos, Amara acted. She'd palmed a small device Dr. Okonkwo had slipped her during the transfer, a medical override code that could unlock restraints in emergency situations. She triggered it, felt her bonds release. Now! She shouted. Zeke spun, forearms striking in coordinated patterns. Vertex's crystalline body refracted the emergency lighting into blinding patterns. Elder Soren's bioluminescence pulsed in frequencies that disoriented the Torven soldiers. Dr. Okonkwo, still injured but fighting, grabbed a fallen weapon and provided covering fire. They fought their way through the smoke and chaos, Amara leading them by memory and instinct. The command carrier was dying around them, its systems failing one by one. The hangar bay! Volkov's voice crackled over a stolen comm unit. I managed to get free and steal a shuttle. Get there now. They ran through corridors that groaned and buckled. Behind them, they heard Vexx roaring orders, heard Torven soldiers giving chase. The hangar bay was a war zone. Ships were launching in panic. Torven crews scrambled to evacuate. And there, Volkov in a stolen shuttle, its engines hot. Move! She screamed. They sprinted across the deck. Plasma bolts scorched the air. Zik took a hit to their secondary arm and went down. Amara grabbed them, half carrying, half dragging. They reached the shuttle, threw themselves inside. Volkov launched before the door was fully closed. Space enveloped them, and behind them, Vex's command carrier was being pulled apart by forces that bent reality itself. The automated defenses were relentless, precise, and utterly merciless. "Everyone okay?" Volkov called back. "Define okay," Zik managed, their harmonic voice weak. Dr. Okonkwo was already treating their injury, a deep plasma burn, but survivable. "The fragments," Amara said. "Please tell me." "Safe," Vertex said, pulling a storage device from a hidden compartment in their crystalline structure. "I managed to retrieve 3 from Vexx's display during the chaos. Combined with our 4, we have—" "All 7, Amara finished. "We actually have all 7. "And Vexx?" Amara looked back at the dying command carrier, at the Torven ships fleeing in panic, at the space-time distortion tearing through the Sovereignty fleet. "His own greed destroyed him," she said quietly. "He followed false fragments to a trap of his own making." The shuttle rejoined the merchant's Hope, which had managed to slip away during the battle. Cross was frantically making repairs, but his ship had held together. In the common area, they assembled the 7 song fragments for the first time in millions of years. The effect was immediate and overwhelming. The fragments connected, and the song played, not just heard, but felt. It resonated through bone and thought, creating harmonics that existed beyond normal perception. The coordinates resolved with perfect clarity, not just a location, but a path, a sequence, a test. "It's an invitation," Elder Soren said, their bioluminescence pulsing in wonder. "The precursors are inviting us to prove ourselves worthy." "Then let's not keep them waiting," Amara said. The journey to the archive took 3 days of careful navigation through the radiation-heavy outer reaches. The merchant's Hope wasn't designed for such hazardous space, but Cross proved to be a better pilot than he claimed. They emerged in a system that shouldn't exist, a stable pocket of normal space surrounded by lethal radiation, and at its heart, a structure. The archive wasn't a building or a ship. It was a construct of pure energy and matter, existing in states that defied physics. It looked like a flower made of crystallized light, petals opening and closing in patterns that hurt to observe. "It's impossible," Vertex said. "The energy requirements alone." "The precursors didn't care about our definitions of possible," Amara said. They approached in the shuttle, just Amara, Zik, Dr. Okonkwo, Volkov, Elder Soren, Vertex, and a representative from the Harathi consensus. 7 beings representing the 7 species whose cooperation had made this moment possible. The archive welcomed them, not with words, but with pure understanding that flooded their minds. They saw the precursors, beings of energy who had evolved beyond physical form millions of years ago, saw why they'd left the archive. It was a gift, a test, a hope. They'd left their knowledge for species who would one day be ready for it. Species who could cooperate instead of conquer, who could harmonize instead of dominate. The test was simple. Approach together, with true unity of purpose. The 7 song fragments had never been about coordinates. They'd been about ensuring that only species who could work together would find this place. One by one, they placed their consciousness into the archive's network, and knowledge flooded through them. Not all of it. They weren't ready for that. But enough. Enough to understand faster-than-light travel that didn't tear at reality. Enough to comprehend energy sources that didn't deplete. Enough to grasp medical technology that could cure diseases thought incurable. It was beautiful. It was terrifying. It was hope. When they finally withdrew, hours had passed, or maybe minutes. Time felt strange near the archive. "We have a choice," Amara said as they gathered in the shuttle. "We could take this knowledge, use it, transform the galaxy. Or, Volkov asked, or we could seal it again. Wait until more species are ready. The precursors left it as a test for a reason. Are we sure we've passed? They discussed, debated, 7 voices representing their species and their values. In the end, they chose a middle path. They took some knowledge, enough to help, to heal, to defend against threats like the sovereignty. But they sealed the rest, protecting it until the galaxy was truly ready. And they left a new message in the harmonics of the song. We were here. We chose wisely. We will return when we are ready for more. The merchant's hope limped back to civilized space, carrying 7 tired heroes and knowledge that would reshape the galaxy. The Torven Sovereignty, crippled by the loss of their command carrier and Archon Vexx, sued for peace. The archive knowledge was shared freely among the member species of the Council, but with strict protocols to prevent abuse. The Kelix, Harathi, and Luminari formed a new alliance, the Archive Council, dedicated to preserving the precursor's legacy and ensuring its wisdom was used responsibly. Amara returned to Station Meridian, where Director Hassan met her with a rare smile and a commendation she'd never asked for. She accepted it with grace, then went back to her office, surrounded by holographic displays and linguistic puzzles. But she was different now, confident, sure of her purpose. 3 months later, as she worked on a new translation project, Zik appeared in her doorway with 2 cups of coffee. "Thinking music?" they said, referencing her habit of humming. "Always." Amara took the coffee gratefully. "I've been reviewing the archive data. There's so much we still don't understand. And we have time to learn it. Decades, centuries." Zik's antennae quivered with contentment. "We chose well, I think, taking only what we needed." "I hope so." Dr. Okonkwo joined them, fully healed and radiating her usual warmth. "There's news. The Council has approved the Archive Research Institute, a place where species can work together to understand the precursor's legacy. They want you to head it." Amara blinked. "Me? You proved we could cooperate. You brought 7 species together. You prevented a catastrophe." Dr. Okonkwo smiled. "Who better?" Amara looked at the stars through her window, thought about the Yathi and all the species who hadn't survived to see this day. "Only if it's dedicated to their memory," she said. "The Yathi, the Cauldrix, the Moth Collective, the Singing Stones. They paid the price for our knowledge. We owe them remembrance." "Agreed," came Volkov's voice over the comm. She'd been promoted to Admiral and now commanded the new defense fleet protecting Archive Council space. "I'll ensure they're honored. Every ship in my fleet will carry their names." Vertex's crystalline voice added, "The Kelix will preserve their languages in our quantum vaults. Their words will never be lost." The Harathi consensus chimed in, multiple voices harmonizing. "We will sing their stories. In our fleet, their memories will echo forever." Amara felt tears on her cheeks, but didn't wipe them away. "Then I accept," she said. "The Archive Research Institute, where species work together to build a better future. And where we remember the price of that future," Elder Soren added, their bioluminescence pulsing with solemn agreement. 6 months later, the Institute opened on a neutral world between the territories of a dozen species. Scientists, linguists, engineers, and scholars from across the galaxy gathered to study, learn, and grow. Amara stood at the entrance on opening day, watching species who'd never met before greet each other with curiosity instead of fear. Her grandmother's voice echoed in her memory. "When you don't know the way forward, baby girl, you go back to the beginning." She had, and in doing so, she'd helped the galaxy find a new beginning. As the sun set on that neutral world, painting the sky in colors that had no names in any human language, Amara pulled out the small bottle of hot sauce she still carried. Some habits never changed, and that was just fine.
Thank you for watching the Ancestral Archive Consensus. Your support means the world to us. And if you haven't already, please like this video and subscribe to the Narrative Core for more immersive audio stories from across the stars. We at the Narrative Core strive to bring you new and exciting adventures, crafted with care and imagination for you to enjoy. Thank you, and until then,